And here we go, Livy, Book 1, finishing off Chapter 10. Haec, these things, templi est, temple is genitive, origo is a nominative, which are these things are the origin of the temple, quod, which, templum's neuter, which primum, first, omnium, of all of them, at Rome, Romae, sacratum est, was consecrated at Rome. Ita, so thus, deinde then, visum, it seemed, that the gods, dis, neither in ritum, which means in vain, conditoris templi vocum esse. Vox and vocem is the word. So basically, it seemed to the gods, and neither that should the words of the Conditoris, the founder of this temple, esse qua means which, non-combinative means these are the words which he called them, which he announced, that the posteros, those people in future generations, leituros means they're going to bring spolia, where the spoils, eo there. So basically saying to the gods seem that the words of the founder of the temple shouldn't be in vain when he said that the future generations would bring their spoils there. And neither this multitudine, this is the ablative form of multitude, compotomius, who composed this, doni vulgari, that's the common people, laudem. So this is, neither should the laudem, the praise by the multitude of these gifts, there's a couple of different ways you can translate this. Basically, some of them say that it's the glory or the praise of these gifts are destroyed basically by this multitude. Bina means twice, postea afterwards, inter tos animos, amongst so many years, and tot bella, so many wars, that's plural, the opima. These are the fattiest parts usually. Parta sunt spoiles. Opima spoilers are general spoils. Adio, to such an extent, rare. It is so rare that decorus is dishonor, basically, in fortune's fortune. So if you want to put it together, say, afterwards only twice only, with so many wars have these spoils of the generals been here, and so rare is this honor of fortune happen. Dum ea. So while these things, ibi there, Romani, the Romans, nominative gerant. So while the Romans were here doing this, the Antonatiums, this is one of those other three tribes, their exercitus, their army of these people, that's genitive, per the occasion in solitudinem, fitting right occasion in time, and the solitude means because the Romans were away at this temple. Hostilita, the adverb for hostili, in fines Romanums, faceted in an incursion. So they made it an aggressive incursion into the Roman territory. And our daily dictionary word is optimus, the adjective. Abundant, fat, plump, rich, fertile. An optimus spoiler is spoils from a general. Top 2,000 words. Raptim, hastily, et also. Ad hos, to them, they are accusative plurals. A Romani legion, so the Roman legion, ducta, which is led, past passive. Ad hos, pelotos, to these stragglers in agros, who were straggling through the field, and oppressed them, they overwhelmed them. Fusi, plural for routed. Igitor, therefore, primo, impetu, and clamore. So these are all ablatives except for igitor. So the hostes, which are the enemies then were routed in the first impetus, in the first attack, and shout. So there was a shout when they were upon them. In the oppidum, captum, their town was captured. So the Romans went out to meet them, overwhelmed them, and then took their town. Duplici. Duplicate means duplicated, so it's twice. With its double victory, ovantem, that usually be a V, so an ovantem, this is coming back in an ovation, it's a present accusative participle. So Romulus in the accusative, having an ovation, that is double victory. Hercilia, we come across the nominative. This is female. Cognacs. So this would be, Hercilia was the spouse to Romulus, who was coming with an ovation of the double victory. Precibus, with prayers. Raptarum fatigat. So she'd become fatigued or worn down by the prayers of the raptarum, of the, again, it's got an A, so it's female, so he must be dragging off women after this victory. And Orat, she begged him, she'd be begging her husband, so that, parentibus iarum, so that to the parents of them, debt be given, he give, pardon, veniam. So that's why parentibus is in the dative there. And so she was wore out by their prayers, and she begged that Romulus would give their parents a pardon, and in civitatem accipiat, and receive them into the state. Ita, so thus, the rem, the matter, coalescere infinitive concordia posse. So thus the matter was able, posse, to be coalesced concordia, in peace, a reasonable outcome. Facile, easily, impetratum. And impetratum is when you ask for something and you're given it. So this was easily obtained. Inde then, contra crustuminos. This is against one of the other three people. Profectus, set out, inferentes, present participle. The Crustumines were inferentesing a bellum. So they were bringing in a war, and Profectus. So this would be Romulus taking the, even though he's not mentioned by name, he's the one setting out in this nominative past present, and the Crustuminians are the accusative. So he's gone out to meet them. Ibi there, minus etiam, less even, quod because, alienus cladibus, because of the disaster that happened to the aliens, to the other people who had just been beaten. So we know minus means something less is happening. Caciturant enemi. So they were basically crestfallen of their spirits, and they were less given over for a curtaminus for it. Curtamine is the contest or the fight. Utroque, dative or ablative to both sides. A coloniae, that'd be plural. So colonies, missae, were sent to both of these places which had just been beaten. Plures, most of them, inventi, found. Most of them were found, qui who, propter, on account of the ubitatem, terrae, that's the genitive. So that's by the lushness of the land, basically, or the how much ability you had to grow crops. In crustuminium nomina darent, and that's plural. So most of them gave their names over to become into the crustuminium lands because it was very, very good land. Et Romam, Romam's accusative, so it means to Rome, and to Rome, inde then, frequenta, two adverbs side by side, frequently or busily, there were migratumes, there were migrations to Rome frequently, a parentibus maxime, by the parents especially or greatly, and propiquinas, which are blood relatives, raptarum, of the women who had been carried off. Novissimum, it means the most recent one, or the last. Bella mortem, the last war arose, ab Sabinus, from the Sabines. And multoque, which is by much, this was the maximus, this was the greatest of the wars. Enim, for, nothing. Per iram, per anger, or cupididum, or, so this is per with the accusative, so neither was through anger or in desire was there an action, actum, was there something acted out. Neither ostenderant, neither were they ostentatious or making a show of the war. Priusquam, there's a space there, doesn't necessarily need to be. Before intolerant, neither did they make any showing of it before they brought in the war, before they went to war. Concilio, this is rational thinking. Etiam even, additus to dolus. So it was also added to their grief was cunning planning, basically. And Spurius Tarpenius, Romane praeret archae. So Spurius Tarpenius was praerent, he was in charge of the Roman archae, citadel. Who is filiam virginam? of his virgin daughter or young girl daughter, oro corrumpit Tacitus. He's the nominative. So Tacitus had corrupted or bribed oro with gold. That's ablative. His young daughter, so that armatos, which would be armed soldiers, making a noun out of it, accipiat, she would take them in, receive them in arcadem, into the citadel. Aquam, in the accusative, water, perchance or by chance, she, then sacris. So by chance, then water for a sacrifice, extra outside many of the walls, petitum. So this is in the past. So by chance she was petiting aqua. She was seeking for water or fetching it, and errant means she had gone out there. That's the word for go. Acepti. So those who were received in obrutam, that would have to be she was overwhelmed, obrutam, with armis, necavere. So those who she received in, plural with the I, necave, they killed her, overwhelmed her with arms. Seu, one of my favourite or words. It usually takes one word or just a few words. So either so that by force capture the arcs, the citadel. So it looked like, oh, here we go, Vitorita. So it seemed that the citadel had been captured by force, Potius, rather, or, another seu, causa exempli, causa's post positive behind the genitive. So for the sake of an example, praedendi, of producing or setting an example, nequid, not anyone, usquem, ever, fidem, which is trust, proditoria set. So she was killed, overwhelmed with the arms, either so it seemed that they'd stormed the citadel, or just because they want to make an example of someone, and you should never trust betrayers. Additur. It has added a fabula, a fable, a story. Quad, we'll say, make it as a quad clause maybe. That, vulgo, which is common, so it's a common story. The Sabines, aureus, armilas, which means they have golden armbands or bracelets. Magni ponderous, of great ponderous weight. Brachio levo, on their left, levo is one of the words for left, and brachio is a limb or an arm. Gematos qui, another accusative plural. And gems, magnus, becci, annulus haborent, of great appearance. These are like rings with gems in them that they had. Papissi, which is like fixed on, her, so she's asked for these things of quod, what, haberent they had in sinistris menibus. So there's a story that she'd asked for what they had on their left hands, thinking of these gems and these golden armbands. Io scuta Ili. So Ili is they, scutas the shields, pro oris, pro takes the wave. So instead of this gold, congesta, they congested upon her, donus, these gifts. So instead of golden gifts, aureus donus, they heaped up, they congested their shields there, eo on her. Sunt qui. Sunt is there are, qui those, who her, ex pacto, from this deal, so of the deal of Tridanda, handing over, quid, what, in sinistris manibus, what was on their left hands. Sinistra and levo are both words for left hands. Directo arma pedissi, that she had been directly seeking their arms, dicant, they say. Yeah, if they did have their shields on their left hand as well, it could look like she was asking for their arms. And fraude, by the deception of fraud, visam, it seemed, agere sua, of her own actions, ipsam herself, ipsam pereptum, her own death, mercande, which is the payment for a fraud.